Good afternoon. Here is the midday news of OGT. My name is Bumi Makinde. First, the major items. President Buhari has unveiled new Ogun State government's renewed commitment to advancing the education sector. The US is calling for the implementation of peace deal between Ethiopia and Tigrayan authorities. President Muhammadu Buhari this Wednesday finally unveiled the redesigned Naira notes as proposed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The unveiling marks the first time in 19 years Nigeria will be redesigning its currency notes. That Nigeria National Petroleum Company (NNPC Limited) and its strategic partners in the Kolmani Integrated Development Project (KIPRO), the first oil exploration in the northern region, have been charged to ensure harmonious relationship with the local communities. President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave the charge while flagging off the Kolmani Integrated Development Project on the boundary of Bauchi and Gombe states, said they should apply the lessons learned from years of experience as an oil-producing nation to ensure harmony with the host communities. President Buhari said he has obtained pledges from the governors of Bauchi and Gombe states of willingness to ensure support and cooperation for the local population. He described the occasion as important in the economic history of the nation as it moves closer to production of oil and gas outside the established Niger Delta Basin and desired outcomes. Still on the economy, the deployment of scanners at the nation's seaports will reduce importation of unwholesome goods as well as increase government revenue collection. The Minister of Finance and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, stated this on Tuesday while inaugurating three new scanners at the nation's seaports. According to her, the inauguration of the scanners is a milestone in the service efforts to expedite customs operations, achieve ease of doing business, facilitate trade, prevent port congestion, increase revenue generation to governments, and improve national security. Mrs. Ahmed, while explaining that the current process of fiscal examination of cargoes is time consuming, causing loss of revenue to the government, informed that additional 135 scanners were still being expected for full automation of cargo clearing system across all ports of entry in the country. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has urged Nigerians in the diaspora to have more conversations around self-discipline with a view to preventing people from committing crimes. Speaking in Ottawa during an interactive session with some leaders of Nigerian groups across the different provinces in Canada, Professor Shibajo informed that the vast majority of Nigerians all over the place are honest and straightforward people trying to survive and be responsible citizens wherever they find themselves. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media Publicity, Mr. Laulu Akondi, on Tuesday, Professor Shimbajo noted that the federal government is liaising with embassies to stop the negative profiling of Nigerians abroad. According to him, the federal government has established links with foreign institutions for training programs for Nigerians. He added that the training is necessary for Nigerians to be able to get good paying jobs wherever they go rather than the ones below their dignity. In appreciation of the contributions of the Abujale and paramount ruler of Ijebuland, Oba Sikiru Adetono, to the development of education, the Ogun State government has rechristened the former Tai Shonari College of Education Taske after the monarch. The institution is now to be known as Oba Sikiru Adetono College of Education, Science and Technology, Zapatec. Speaking at the formal unveiling of the new name of the institution at the Awujale's Palace in Ijebu-Ode, the governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, said the college has regained its lost glory with the appointments of a governing council headed by Prince Adeyemi Adefudu that has succeeded in making the college the best in the country. He explained that the school was upgraded to a college of education, science and technology to provide manpower development and skill acquisition for the people of the state. The governor assured that the current administration will continue to work towards the advancement of the education sector across the Gateway states. You are listening to the Midday News at OGBC 90.5 FM. U.S. Secretary of State Mr. Anthony Blinken has spoken to Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed about the implementation of the ceasefire deal between government troops and Tigray forces in the north. Mr. Blinken stressed on the need to immediately implement the deal, including withdrawal of all foreign forces and concurrent disarmament of the Tigrayan forces. Mr. Abiy has already reiterated his government's commitment to the peace deal. The Secretary of State said the US was committed to supporting the African Union led process, including its monitoring and verification mechanism of the peace agreements. The US Supreme Court has cleared the way for ex President Donald Trump's tax forms to be released to a Democratic controlled congressional committee. The justices rejected Mr. Trump's bid in October to block a lower court ruling that granted the panel's request for his financial records. The move is a blow to Mr. Trump, who has for years kept his returns sealed. Mr. Trump became the first president in 40 years not to release his taxes after announcing his first presidential run. The House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee has been seeking access to his records since 2019. Mr. Trump, who launched his third campaign for the White House last week, is facing several investigations related to his business practices. He denies any wrongdoing. The far-right party of Brazil's outgoing president, Mr. Jair Bolsonaro, has challenged some votes in October's election that saw him lose narrowly to leftist Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The Liberal Party asked the Electoral Court to reject ballots from certain voting machines which it claims were compromised during the second round. The court has now given the party 24 hours to amend its petition to include the first round of voting. Mr. Bolsonaro's party performed better than expected in the first round. The party, however, presented proof of its allegation of machine errors. Rescuers are battling dozens of aftershocks in the hilly region of West Java in the search for earthquake survivors. As the search for earthquake survivors reaches its third day, West Java Governor Ridwan Kamil told newsmen that the region had experienced around 140 shocks since Monday's quake. Hundreds of responders have been sent to Ganjo to accelerate the rescue. Mr. Kamil said the local community was still exposed to these aftershocks, which have in some cases put responders at risk. At least 268 people, including many children, have died so far. Around 51 people remain missing and more than 1,000 are injured. On sports, former champions Spain will begin their exploits as the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar this Wednesday against Costa Rica. The 2010 World Cup champions, who left Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea and legendary defender Sergio Ramos out of the squad, will hope to begin on a good note when their game starts at 5 p.m. The first game on the card this midweek has kicked off with Morocco's Atlas Lions doing battle with Croatia. Germany will play Japan at 2 p.m., while Canada will wrap up the day with a game against the Red Devils of Belgium at 8 p.m. Our well-lubricated economies and assets to the people contribute to a strong economy for the country. To end the midday news, the look at the major items. President Muhammadu Buhari this midweek as the Executive Council Chambers Presidential Villa Abuja unveiled the redesigned Naira notes as proposed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, while renaming the Tertiary College of Education as Oba Sikiru Adetona College of Education, Science and Technology on Tuesday, reiterated government's commitment to advancing the education sector. On the foreign scene, the Secretary of State, Mr. Anthony Blinken, has spoken to Ethiopian Prime Minister Mr. Abiy Ahmed about the implementation of the ceasefire deal between government troops and Tigray forces. The Midday News was edited by Chris Ugu and broadcast from OGBC Abeokuta.
Social movie. Ojú ẹ máa dán ló ṣe.